Today I'm going to be talking about solving quadratic equations, and this is the second day of Chapter 4, Section 1. I have one more method of how you can solve for a quadratic equation, and it's using your calculator. So I'm going to show you how to find the zeros using your calculator. So the first one we're going to put in our calculator, x squared minus 8x plus 16. So we're going to use our y equals, and we're going to plug in x squared minus 8x plus 16. Oops, we're going to go back and do plus 16. And we're going to graph that. Okay, and if we notice, it only hits the x-axis at one point. So we're going to do second, trace, and then we're going to click 2 for the 0 because we're finding the zeros. And it's going to ask us left bound. So we go to the left of that point. We push enter, and then we go to the right of that point and push enter, and then we push enter one more time to guess, and the 0 is 4. So we're going to say x is equal to 4. We do the same thing for the next one, x squared plus 11x. So we're going to go back to our calculator, y equals, clear out that function, and now we're going to put in our x squared plus 11x. So we're going to graph that one. Okay, and this time I think we're going to have to zoom out. So I'm going to click on zoom, and then 3 for out. And I'm going to zoom out, so I have to push enter for it to zoom out. And now we can see where it hits the x-axis twice. So we do second, trace, and push 2 for 0. So I'm going to do the first one to the very left. So left bound is going to be above. And I'm going to push enter. And then right bound is going to be below. And then I'm going to guess. So my first one is at a negative 11. So now I'm going to look at the other one. I'm going to do second, trace, 2 for 0. And left bound is going to be below. Right bound is going to be above, and then we're going to guess, which is going to be 0. So the zeros for this one are x equals negative 11 and 0. And let's do our very last one. Go y equals, clear that out. We're going to put in 4 x squared minus 12x plus 9. And we're going to graph that one. And we notice that it only hits the x-axis once. So we're going to second trace 0, and we're going to go to the left of it, to the right of it, and then push enter to guess. And this is going to be at 1.5. So our 0 for that one is 1.5. So that's how you can use your calculator. So we've seen all the methods to solve for a quadratic equation. Next up, I have a word problem. Okay, and now this word problem is a little tricky, but I'm going to break it down and hopefully it will help you. It says an athletic store sells about 200 pairs of basketball shoes per month when it charges $120 per pair. For each $2 increase in price, the store sells 2 fewer pairs of shoes. How much should the store charge to maximize monthly revenue, and what is the maximum monthly revenue? So what we're going to do here is we are going to write down a much simpler equation. First of all, what are they asking for? They're asking for the monthly revenue. Well, how do you find revenue? Well, to find revenue, you multiply the number of shoes that are bought by a price. So that's going to help us set it up, okay? And now we have to figure out what our x value is. Well, it says how much should the store charge to maximize monthly revenue? How much am I charging? So x is going to be the price increase, because we don't know how much to increase this price to make the revenue more, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to write an equation for each. How many shoes did we start off with? Well, we had 200 pairs. But then each month we sell 2 fewer pairs, so that's going to be minus 2x. And now we're going to look at the price. We start off at $120, but then there's an increase of $2 per month. Okay, so now what we can do is we can FOIL this out, and we get y equals negative 4x squared plus 160x plus 24,000. And to find the maximum value, we have to find the y value of the vertex. So we have to find the vertex. And to do that, we have to do x equals negative b over 2a, which is a negative 160 over a negative 8, and that gives us a 20. So we're going to plug in the 20 into the function. So we get negative 420 squared plus 160 times 20 plus 24,000. And so our maximum revenue is going to be $25,600. And that's our last part. Then it also asks, how much are we charging? Well, what you're going to do to figure that out is you plug it into the price section of this equation. And we plug in x for that. So if we plug in x, 2 times 20 is 40, and 40 plus 120 is 160. So we're going to charge $160 per shoe to maximize our revenue. Now, our last word problem is about dropping an object. Okay, and when we drop an object, there is a model that we can use. And the model is we do h equals negative 16t squared plus h sub 0. And h sub 0 is our initial height. All right, well, if we read this, it says you drop a seashell into the ocean from a height of 40 feet. Write an equation that models the height h in feet of the seashell above the water after t seconds. How long is the seashell in the air? Well, our initial height is 40, so we can plug in 40 to this model and we get our equation. Now, to solve of how long the seashell is in the air, we can plug in 0 for h, because when it lands on the ground, it'll be 0. And then we can solve. I used square roots, so I moved over the 16, t squared, and then I divided. And then since time is never negative, we just square root it, and our time is going to be about 1.6 seconds.